footprint trading community.
All right, have you ever looked at the charts and just wondered what the elite traders see that the rest of us don't? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful model from a world-class scalper that could completely flip how you see the market. It's all about making one simple shift from predicting to reading, and we're going to break down exactly how to do it. So let's start with a pretty brutal stat, one you've probably heard before. A staggering 90% of traders consistently lose money. I mean, think about that. Why do so many people fail? But more importantly, what is that successful 10% doing differently? You know, the answer isn't some secret indicator or a magic pattern they bought online. Nope. It's a fundamental shift in perspective, a totally different way of looking at what the market is doing. Let's dig into what that actually means. So, according to a world-class future scalper named Fabio Valentino, the entire reason for that 90% failure rate really boils down to one critical mistake. It's an error so common, it's pretty much the default setting for how most people approach trading. And there it is, right there. The core mistake is prediction. It's trying to guess the next move. Fabio says that traders see some pattern they recognize, they jump in trying to get ahead of the move, and they just end up getting run over by what the market actually decides to do. Now, here's the crucial part. It's not that patterns like a break of structure are useless. Of course not. The problem is that traders use them in a vacuum. They see the pattern, but they completely ignore where that pattern is forming in the bigger picture. And that right there is the difference between a high probability setup and a total trap. And this brings us to what we can call the location mistake. This is basically the dividing line between amateur guesswork and professional execution. Because in this game, context is absolutely everything. This really lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the typical approach, the guesser, who's just focused on the pattern itself. But on the right, you have the pro, who's focused on the location. One is basically gambling. The other is gathering evidence. It's about shifting from chasing every little signal to patiently waiting for the right conditions. So how do pros figure out the right location? Well, they use a framework called auction market theory. And honestly, the idea is pretty simple. Just think of the market as being in one of two states. It's either balanced, where buyers and sellers pretty much agree on a fair price, or it's imbalanced, where the market is actively searching for a new fair price. The entire edge comes from just knowing which state we're in right now. Okay, so how do you actually put this into practice? Fabio doesn't just leave it at theory. He uses a really clear, systematic, three-step model to read the market and pinpoint those high probability moments. And here it is. It breaks down into three simple parts: location, validation, and trigger. So first, you identify your location. Is the market balanced or imbalanced? Second, you validate a specific high probability level within that location. And third, you wait for the trigger. That's the final confirmation that the big institutional money is making its move. Okay, for step one, location. The main tool is the volume profile. Now, this isn't that standard volume indicator at the bottom of your chart. Think of it like a histogram that's been turned on its side. It shows you exactly where the most and least trading activity has happened at specific prices. A big bulge in the profile, that's a balanced, fair value area. A really thin spot, that's imbalance. This tells you the market state at a glance. For step two validation, we zoom in on that volume profile to find what are called low volume nodes. These are those super thin spots we just talked about, where very little business was done. And you can think of them like price vacuums. Because there's no friction or resistance there, price tends to just slice right through them, which makes them really powerful targets. And finally, step three, the trigger. This is where order flow comes in. It's like getting a look under the hood of the price action in real time. It's often shown as these bubbles on the chart, and those bubbles represent large, aggressive orders hitting the market. So when you see those bubbles pop up right at your validated level, that's your confirmation. That's the institutional money stepping in. Now, what's so powerful about this three-step framework is how adaptable it is. This is not a rigid one-size-fits-all strategy. It's a model that actually generates two completely distinct playbooks, depending on what the market is doing right now. And you can see how it works right here. In an imbalanced, volatile market, think the New York Open, you use a trend-following model. The goal is simple: catch a true breakout. But in a balanced, consolidating market, you switch to a mean-reverting model. Here, the goal is the total opposite: to catch the fake-out, when price tries to break out, fails, and then snaps right back to the average. It's the exact same three-step logic. just applied to two different market conditions. So this brings us all the way back to the core idea, this big philosophical shift at the heart of the whole approach. It's really about letting go of the need to be a fortune teller and becoming an expert interpreter instead. And this line from Fabio just sums it all up perfectly. Your ability to predict is 0, but your ability to read is 100. You can't guess what's going to happen next, but you can always read what's happening right now. The market is constantly telling you a story through its volume and its orders. Your job isn't to guess the next chapter, it's just to read the current page clearly. So, the question to leave you with is this. When you look at your charts, are you trying to be a psychic predicting where the market might go? Or are you becoming more like a detective, gathering clues and learning to read the story the market is telling you right here, right now? Because honestly, the answer to that question could change everything for you.
Footprint Trading Community.